Mm. Would you like more joy, abundance, and play in your life? Then you're in the right place. In this class, we're going to learn the appreciate practice. This simple practice helps create joy, challenges the falsehoods of self-view, greed, and judgment, and helps us access our inner wisdom, love, and other resources. What's great about this practice is you can do it anywhere, anytime. So in this talk, we're going to go over a few benefits of the appreciate practice, explain how to do the practice, and then I'm going to challenge you to give thanks 10 or more times a day, because I feel like that's a good threshold at where this practice really starts to change our ways of thinking and viewing the world in a very positive way. But before all that, I just have a few points to orient you. So this class is the second class in a series on how to do the Bilotti technique. Bilotti stands for breathe, appreciate, label, allow, disidentify, and investigate. So Bilotti is really 6 mindfulness practices rolled up into one convenient, memorable, portable practice. Bilotti gives us the means to investigate our inner experience, discover insights, and see the lie in many falsehoods, so we can live with more love, wisdom, courage, and joy. Each week in the course, we will go in depth on how to do one of the 6 practices. Tonight, we will focus on the first A in Bilotti, which stands for appreciate. Appreciate reminds us to give thanks, and this leads us to ask, why is giving thanks important? But before we answer that, I just want to mention that this course assumes you have taken the free Mindfulness Fundamentals course that we have available on our website under the Trainings tab. If you have not taken it yet, please do. It will introduce you to the definitions of the words we use and help you better follow this training. However, even if you have not done that course, you will still get a lot out of this course. So stay put. Enjoy. Okay, back to our question. Why is giving thanks important? Well, being thankful is a very simple practice that is easy to learn, can be done anywhere, and has wide-ranging benefits. Appreciation helps us feel joy, and this joy helps us access more internal resources like creativity, inspiration, space, and energy. These resources help us respond more skillfully to our situation, benefiting ourselves and all life. Appreciation also helps us counter numerous falsehoods, including self-view, greed, and judgment. They remind us, by giving thanks, we're reminded that everything in our life is a gift, and it encourages us to see what is beautiful, wonderful, and skillful in all beings, life forms, and situations. And I want to talk a little bit about how gratitude combats self-view. So one of the ways that self-view shows up in our life, and self-view, for those of you who don't know, it's it's the root delusion of all falsehoods. It's the idea that we are this body, we are the thinker of the thoughts, we are the doer of the deeds. And in this way, most of us take credit for what the body achieves and accomplishes. And this is actually false view, because when we, and granted, on the surface, it seems like, well, that's what happens. Like, I said I was going to go to college, and then I was going to get this job, and then I did those things, and, I did it. And so on the surface, yes, it looks like we do this stuff. But if you scratch that surface and look a little bit underneath, we start to see how life did it all for us. So maybe we did go to college, but who gave us the energy to show up to class? Who gave us the intelligence to be able to understand what we were learning? These are all gifts that were provided to us by life, and who gave us the maybe the parents or the wealth that allowed us to go to college? Even if we put ourselves through school, who gave us the opportunity to have the jobs that allowed us to fund our schooling. I mean, it's basically like you just take one or two backwards steps. Whenever you think like you did something, you ask, well, what were the qualities I needed to do that? And did I really provide those qualities? And you'll start to see more and more that no, that's all just a blessing from life. And so rather than taking credit for all of our blessings, we give thanks. It's like, oh, wow. Like when we have success, we give thanks. Like, oh, thanks. Thanks for letting that happen. Um, and just we recognize that life did it and life is moving through us. And Jesus, pointed out to this during his teachings when he said, it is not I, but it is the Father in me that does the works. And that was just his way of saying, like, yeah, life is doing this. The conditioning in the body is what's doing all of this. And what we find out is that the more falsehoods we have in the mind, the harder it is for the conditioning to function. Like that sort of gums up our system. And so if we just let go and say, okay, this is life moving through me, let's see what life is up to, we have a much better, easier experience of life. We don't have to worry that, like we don't have to take on the heavy responsibility of all of the things that we need to do. We can actually just say like, okay, body, we're just going to show up and then let's see what you do. I mean, that's how it is when I write talks. I don't know what I'm going to write until I just sit down there and it comes out. you know and I mean, many of you who are creative with music or with painting or whatever, how the creative, it's just sort of there, it is, it happens. um and you can either invest a lot of self in that action, or you can just realize like, hey, this is what came out of me and I really was just sort of watching it happen, as the formless awareness. So that's one thing. One way it helps us get rid of this self view is we no longer take credit for our accomplishments. We're just thankful that we were able to serve in that way, and we don't have to get a big ego about it. It also combats judgment, the falsehood of judgment. So we as human beings tend to take a lot in our life for granted, and often to the detriment or neglect of those beings or life forms. For example, if we don't have air, this body dies after like what, 4 minutes, maybe 7 minutes if you're lucky. Water, we need that every day. Food, we need, definitely if we went a few months without food, this body would die. So there's a lot going on to get this experience of life happening. And oftentimes we don't give thanks for all of those things. We sort of are like, take that for granted. And then we sit there worrying about like, why don't I have a mansion? Or if we have a mansion, why don't I have 3 mansions? Like there's always more that we can achieve. And that can lead us to a real scarcity mindset. Whoops, I'm jumping ahead. but but in terms of judgment, all life forms, everything that exists has a part to play in a role in life. And with appreciation, we're encouraging ourselves to see the good, see the role they play, see the love and kindness they're offering us, and really appreciate what they do for us. Like on a cold day like today, the warmth of the sun is pretty amazing, and it's definitely worth being thankful for. I know this last week I've sat many minutes in sunlight coming in through the window, just feeling grateful for that warmth. Um, and 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 so why are we taking this stuff for granted when this stuff is integral to our life and our well-being? And when we neglect this stuff, we start to poison the air, poison the water, poison the land, all of these things that we need to thrive, that all life needs to thrive. And if we do this with other people too, or other communities of people, like, oh, well, the poor people don't matter, or this and that don't matter, they usually get neglected and harmed. So we need to really see the good in everyone, see the liberating truth that we are all one, and through appreciation, we can actually help generate this. We can actually help combat the judgments that we have and see the good in all people, all beings, and all life forms. So appreciation combats judgment. It also combats greed. Because when we don't appreciate all that is good in our lives, we often walk around with this scarcity mentality where we feel deprived and scared. And this leads us to be really greedy. Like, I want this and I want that. I need, you know, if I have 1 million in my bank account, I need 3 billion in my bank account. Like it's very easy to feel like we never have enough. And that's again because we think of ourselves as an isolated individual. What we need to realize and appreciate is that life has always cared for us. This goes back to that original point. Um, we're not the actor of the body. We are uh, we are a form. This body is a form, definitely, but it is completely interdependent on all other forms. And so it's not through our own effort that we are surviving. It's through the love and appreciation and the kindness of all the other forms. And so we need, as part of our practice, like being thankful for that is great. And again, this helps lift the heavy burden of feeling like, oh, I have to do it all. We can let go of that and we can just embrace the fact that life is going to care for us up until the point where it doesn't. And at that point, we pass through the veil and see what's on the other side. But this is how Peace Pilgrim lived. She had 0 cents to her name, cents being pennies. And she had a lot of sense, obviously. She was very wise. And she just walked around sharing her message of peace, not knowing where her next meal was going to come from, where she would sleep that night. And she just let life take care of her. And lo and behold, people offered her food and people offered her a place to stay. And she lived that way for decades. So this is an invitation that we're called into. And when we live this way, we appreciate that life takes care of us, and we let go of that heavy burden of taking care of ourselves. And the more we see the world through the eyes of appreciation, the easier it becomes to appreciate everything. And this helps us recognize the abundance, support, and love that has always been in our lives, but we have frequently ignored or taken for granted. So when we feel abundant, we're less likely to be greedy. All right. A second way that appreciation helps address greediness is that it feels really pleasant, and it's a type of pleasant that is unworldly, meaning the pleasure does not depend on sense gratification. And because it doesn't depend on sense gratification, it also means there's no danger to that form of pleasure. Now, the ego in us relies on sense gratification to feel pleasure, and this may lead to addictions that harm our health, relationships, and quality of life, which is the danger of relying on worldly sense pleasures to feel pleasure. If shopping is what you do to feel pleasure, you can become addicted to shopping. If it's TV, if it's alcohol, I mean, we all know what our go-to drug of choice is. And at some point, that behavior can become problematic and harm our quality of life. So that's the danger in relying on sense pleasures. Now, as we mature in mindfulness, we can learn to use unworldly pleasures, like the joy of appreciation, to boost our mood so that we don't have to turn to worldly pleasures that have, in our addictive habits to try to boost our mood. So this is another way that appreciation helps us really combat uh, the delusion of greed. So anyway, these are just a few reasons why appreciation is important. There's many, many more. but hopefully you're committed to the practice. So how do we go about doing it? Well, appreciation practice involves silently giving words of gratitude to the higher power of your understanding, be that the universe, source, life, creator, God, or any other name of your choosing. And you can literally just repeat, thank you, thank you, thank you to get started. Offer your words of thanks in a calm, patient, and soothing manner. You don't want to be shouting this. You don't want to be doing it mentally by rote. Like, uh, life is good, life is great, thank you for this food. Like you really want to slow down, be grateful, and really feel it. Listen. So listen what list what you are genuinely grateful for. And I encourage you to use the thank you for format. For example, thank you for health, thank you for family, thank you for love. And then feel free to be specific and detailed in your thanks. For example, thank you for having my uncle recover from his cancer diagnosis. What you can be grateful for is infinite. However, if you're new to the practice, I encourage you to try doing some of the longer gratitude meditations we have at our website. Uh, and that will help give you ideas on what to be grateful for and also help you feel the feelings of gratitude, just as we did earlier tonight. Now, the other key to this practice is really feeling the feelings of gratitude. And that means that your gratitude has to be genuine and heartfelt. And you will know your appreciation is genuine when you feel the pleasant feelings of gratitude in the heart space. And that's the area in your chest in and around where the heart resides. So as you give thanks, rest your awareness on your heart space. Now, in the beginning, you may not feel the pleasure of gratitude, but just keep offering your thanks with words and resting your awareness on your heart space. And you can even answer the question, what can I be genuinely grateful for right now? And to focus on the feeling, you may find it helpful to still the body and close the eyes. As you get more proficient at giving thanks, you will be able to feel gratitude with your eyes open and while moving about. And then once you start feeling the pleasure of gratitude when you give thanks, you really want to savor that pleasure for about 20 seconds or more. That's what different biologists and psychologists say is required to fully get all of your inner resources online, is feeling that pleasure for about 20 seconds. So during that 20 seconds, just keep giving thanks and feeling that unworldly pleasure of gratitude. Now, as you get good at giving appreciation, you want to start seeing what is beautiful, wonderful, and skillful in difficult situations too. And we always encourage you to start with easy, difficult situations and gradually build up to more and more challenging, difficult situations. This is just to help prevent trauma. Like we don't want you diving into your worst traumas and starting there because you might actually do yourself harm by going too far too fast. So first you want to gain skills with the easy, difficult situations. So helpful questions to ask of these times are, where is the gift in this? What beautiful qualities does this help me develop? Like, does this situation help me develop? What liberating insights does this remind me to embrace? For example, relationship problems in our life often invite us to be more vulnerable, courageous, and selfless, and remind us that all life has inherent value. Failures and embarrassment in life invite us to be humble and selfless and remind us that the now is all there is, so we need not dwell on the past. And numerous examples of this are given in a variety of wisdom traditions. Jesus encouraged his followers to rejoice at their suffering and persecution, saying, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Now, if I were to translate this into more non-religious terms, for those of you who may not be coming from a Christian perspective, it may sound something like this. Blessed are those of you, or blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for they will know the unconditional joy of egolessness. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely, because of your commitment to unconditional love, truth, and joyful service. Rejoice and be glad, for the fruits of your practice will be great. For so they for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So there's just another take on it, for those of you who have a hard time with heaven and those sort of concepts. But the trick is we want to start seeing the good even in the difficult situations in our lives. We want to start seeing how they are there to serve us, how they help us grow in our mindfulness practice, how they help us cultivate our beautiful qualities. And of course, and so you start with the easy difficulties and you work up from there. Now, when we offer gratitude as part of our Baladi practice, all of the stuff I've mentioned already is true, because we often do Baladi when experiencing difficulties. Possible options for gratitude might be something like thank you, thank you, thank you, or thank you for mindfulness, because you'll have just done the breath meditation that'll help bring in more mindfulness into your situation. Thank you for having me use this difficulty to deepen my love and wisdom. So again, appreciating this challenge and saying like, hey, I'm going to jujitsu this into something good and beautiful. Thank you for problems which help me see where I still cling to falsehood. Anything else that is genuine for you in the moment, you can give thanks for. And again, try to feel that appreciation and savor that feeling for 20 seconds before continuing your Baladi practice. Now, you may find that the mindful pause and appreciation removes the need to do the rest of your Baladi. At other times, these two initial practices will help settle the disturbing thoughts and emotions enough for you to mindfully see what's really arising in your experience a little bit more clearly. Either way, the mindful pause and appreciation will help you return to your power, love, and wisdom in these difficult times. So, now that you know why to do the practice and how to do it, what am I asking of you? I'm going to challenge you to give thanks 10 or more times a day. Each time, it can take less than a minute to give thanks, feel gratitude, and savor that feeling for 20 seconds or more. And you can offer appreciation anywhere at any time, but common times to give thanks include first thing upon waking, before meals, when mentally or emotionally down, when we or someone else learns good news, makes progress towards a goal, or achieves success, and when enjoying the beauties of nature. And then, of course, the last thing you do before going to sleep. Of course, you can also do it any other time of day. To develop the practice of giving thanks, I encourage you to set an alarm on your watch, phone, or other device to ring every hour or so, and then aim to give thanks on your own each hour before the alarm goes off. But if you went an hour and you realize you hadn't given thanks, then when the alarm goes off, stop what you're doing and give thanks right then. Do this for 1 or 2 weeks, or as long as it takes to establish a practice where you give thanks 10 or more times a day without prompting from the alarm. And there's other things you can do to help with this, like intention setting and using visual cues, like hanging a sign in your house that says live with an attitude of gratitude and letting that remind you to give appreciation. As far as the intention setting, like every morning, just getting up and restating an intention. So you remind yourself like, yes, I'm committed to this. We've used gratitude groups here at the Boundless Love Project, and a lot of people find that as a great way to also encourage their appreciation practice. So those are just some ways to get out there and make it work. I'm going to wrap this up and basically say gratitude is great. We all need to do more of it, and try to do it at least 10 times a day. Remember, you give words of gratitude and you feel the gratitude. That's what's important. And make sure you feel it for 20 seconds or more. And then you have the tips for how to like really make it a part of your daily life. So this week, please get out there, try to do it, and then just be mindful. How does this enrich your well-being and the well-being of others? And you're going to see the benefits of it, and you're going to love it. You're going to embrace it. You're going to live with it. And hopefully it'll help improve the quality of the rest of your life. All right. Let's all take a mindful pause.